What's up, lifers? I'm so glad you joined me on today's podcast. Today, we're interviewing Lee Dumas, who's the host of Entrepreneurs on Fire, an award-winning podcast where he interviews inspiring entrepreneurs who are truly on fire. With over 2,500 episodes, over 1 million listens a month, and 7 figures of annual revenue, JLD is just getting started. Let's cue the theme song and we'll get right into the interview. I've spent the last 20 years studying, teaching, and coaching people to find their greatness and take their lives to the next level. Along the way, it's become evident that emotions are at the root of everybody's successes and failures. Worry and fear are the enemies, and it's time to forge the armor and earn the tools to overcome the 2 things that could single-handedly destroy your future. Hi, my name is Michael Johnson, and I'm a life coach, a peak performance trainer, and I'm the emotions guy. It's time to take back control of how you feel, control of how you act, and control of how you experience life. It's time to become a lifer, a new breed of overachiever focused on living every minute to its fullest. We are responsible for how we feel, and no one and no thing can make us feel anything. Emotional mastery is our journey, and emotional education and intelligence is the key. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life. What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with the Magic for Life podcast, and I'm so glad you joined me today with our special guest, Lee Dumas, JLD, the original. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, I'm a big fan of initials, and MJ is just about as good as you can get. I'm not going to put it quite as high as JLD, but I mean, with The Last Dance and Michael Jordan that just came out, best sports documentary ever.
So good. I love it. It's been so fun. And it inspires me because there are people like that in the business world, and they don't get as much credit as these sports guys do, but you are one of them. You are kind of like the Michael Jordan of podcasts and many other things as well. So I'm not limiting you or pinholing you, but like, holy cow. I mean, ever since I got into this entrepreneurial game, you know, you've always been a podcast I've had on my list of podcasts to listen to. You rock, man. And you're inspiring, and I cannot wait for my listeners to go. And if they haven't already signed up for your podcast, they need to go do it because holy cow, it is indeed fire. Like you say every time.
Well, thanks, brother. I mean, Entrepreneurs on Fire has been around since 2012, and please feel free to pigeonhole me as the king of podcasting because Joe Rogan did just sign a $100 million deal with Spotify. So I'm cool with that. Podcasting's here to stay, baby.
Oh, yeah. I love it. And, you know, when I chose which direction I was going to be in platforms, honestly, you were one of the reasons I chose this direction because I was like, yeah, I can do this, and I can go this direction. But anyway, Magic for Life is all about, well, there's a lot of things, personal development, but we do focus a lot on entrepreneurs and especially aspiring entrepreneurs. So I think my listeners are going to get a really great value out of you here today and talking to them. And we do spend a lot of time talking about emotions and about the fact that I believe emotions are at the core of what we do. And they are the reason we do the things we do is because we want to feel a way. And so we talk a lot about emotions. So you okay with us jumping into talking a little bit about that?
100%. I'm all about emotions, transparency, and value, baby.
Awesome. I love it. And I can see that on your podcast, you know, all the transparency that you have on your podcast is ridiculous, and you know it's very welcomed, and
thank you.
I'm thankful for it, you know. So the first question I have for you is, when everything wasn't working out, because you talk about it bits and pieces on your podcast along the way, when everything wasn't working out and you didn't have any of the money coming in, you knew you were an entrepreneur, you knew you were going that direction, how did you keep your emotions in check and keep pushing yourself through that time?
There's a reason I end every one of my episodes by saying you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, is because that's the truth. And fortunately for me, although I did a lot of things wrong when I launched and when I was beginning my journey, I did do a couple things right. Specifically, I hired a mentor, and that mentor was there for me. You know, she was my accountability partner. She was my guide. She was a successful business podcast host. So those times that you're mentioning when I was down and out and questioning myself and struggling, I was able to go to my lifeline, that North Star, because she had been there. She had experience the ups and the downs and all those parts of the journey. And then I also had my masterminds. I created a 3-person mastermind with 2 other individuals who I really respected in the industry. They weren't in podcasting, but that was kind of even more valuable in some ways because I was able to get a bigger picture of what overall entrepreneurship, especially in the online marketing world, looked like through conversations with them on a weekly basis. So we held each other accountable every single week. We set goals. We held each other accountable to accomplish those goals every time we met the next week. And I'll tell you, I would have let a lot of things slide if I had just said, all right, John, by this time next week, you're going to accomplish X. But because I told Greg and Rick that by this time next week, I was going to accomplish X, I felt the pressure and they kept up the accountability. And guess what? I accomplished X as a result. So having a mentor, being part of a mastermind, even if it's one that you just create with 2, at the most 3 other people, absolutely critical to your success.
I found that to be massive. And I think we're in a great age of insight that people are starting to realize that, and being able to have 2 or 3 that are with you. It's that Napoleon Hill thing with creating a mastermind that's just so valuable. And 2 is good, but 2, you can get in a lock and you can get in an argument, but with 3, the other person tends to
you got that tiebreaker.
Yeah, you got the tiebreaker. So, I am a big fan of Anthony Robbins from when I started out on this journey. I mean, everybody kind of has had some influence by him along the way. You've interviewed him. Sick interview, and it was awesome. I loved it. It was great. He talks about what you focus on, you get. And so over the last 5 years, what's been your primary thing to focus on? I call them lighthouses. You just alluded to a little bit of being able to keep that journey. But what has been your primary focus in these last 5 years?
So there have definitely been multiple primary focuses over the past 5 years. One that I will talk about, because I think it's important for a lot of people to realize and to not feel guilty about, but to instead feel obligated to do the following, which is really keep your finger on the pulse of where your net profit is. Like you'll hear all day long, like, oh, I just had a 6-figure launch. Oh, I had a 7-figure year. Oh, I'm a 8-figure a year business. And then like you lift up the hood and person X, made $1.4 million, but their expenses were $2.3 million. Like it's not hard to generate a lot of revenue when you're spending a ton of money in marketing, in building a team out and doing all these things. Now, I'm not saying don't spend money on marketing and don't spend money on a team. You want to do those things, but so many people do that at the expense of the bottom line. And I mean, there's no better example of what's happening right now in the world with COVID. And, we're always going to be living in this post-COVID-19 world. It's just a reality. And guess what? Like Warren Buffett says, when the tide goes out, those people who are swimming naked get exposed. And so many businesses were month to month. So many businesses were over leveraged. So many businesses had no more than 1 or 2 or 3 months worth of operating expenses, which to me is absolute lunacy. I mean, I get when you have to operate that for a short period of time because you're just trying to get things going. But in my opinion and in my mind, like as soon as you can get to a point where you are operating consistently at a net profit level, hopefully at 20% or above if you're an online business owner, which by the way, is super doable. If anybody tracks my income reports, I'm at 70 to 80% or above every single month. But again, those are crazy numbers that I've worked years and years and years to get to. But man, that's been my focus for the past 5 years. I've been rocking Entrepreneurs on Fire for 8 years now. Really the past 5 has been like, how can I continue to maximize the net profit that comes in the door? Because guess what? When I focus on those things, I'm able to do more. I'm able to be more philanthropic. I'm able to build my team out in a safer, steadier way. I'm able to invest in other things with my business, with my life, take vacations, do all these things. And by the way, I'm able to keep my business going even during tough times. So people like yourself and others who have gotten value from my business over the years, from my podcast, from my content, from all of these things, are able to keep doing that. Where you're seeing a lot of people are going dark. A lot of businesses are going away. And guess what? Now that they are going away, we're no longer able to get value from them because they're not producing anything. And that's a shame. So I just want people to realize there's an obligation for you, not just to make money, but there's an obligation for you to keep the money that you make, to put it aside, to invest some in your business, to invest some in yourself, but to invest some in your future. Like what does that look like? And that's why I'm a big believer in Michael Michalowicz's book, Profit First. It's a great book. Every entrepreneur should read it, because you need to learn how to create a business that's going to be here, not just today and tomorrow, but next month and next year.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. You do this lightning round, and
yeah,
long time ago, it inspired me to kind of go this direction. And if we have more time, I'll do another question.
Sure.
But
Rip 'em.
It's like I said, we talk about emotions a lot. And for me, with the entrepreneurs that are out there, there's so much great information nowadays, and there's a lot of really genuine people out there like yourself that are helping and wanting to see entrepreneurs succeed. And one of the things that is definitely a problem on the top is that you go through all this trouble, and then you're starting to earn the money, you're starting to do that, but they didn't build themselves along with it. They just built the company. So they left themselves behind. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, yeah, I'm earning $1 million, but I hate myself. And, and so I want to be able to help people build that along the way. And I feel like talking about these emotions and some of the stuff that's going on inside will help other people be able to know how their mentors and how the people they look up to are addressing that. And so I call this the Goto Emotions. And it's kind of like your lightning round, but it's just quick, right? So I'm going to ask for your go-to emotions when you're in a good place, and your go-to emotions when you're in a bad place.
So we talking like one word, a couple words, like
one emotion.
Okay, go for it.
One emotion. It'll make sense, right? As soon as we go. And so in business, when you're in a good place, what's your go-to emotion?
Abundance.
Okay. When you're in a bad place in business, what's your go-to emotion?
Scarcity.
Okay. In partnerships, in a good place, what's your go-to emotion?
Sharing.
Okay. And limiting.
Taking.
Okay. And how about coaching, when you're the coach in a good place?
Giving.
Okay. And when you're in a bad place?
Ignoring.
All right. How about when you're being coached? What's your in a good place?
Excited.
Okay. And in a bad place?
Bored.
Nice. Okay. And you're lucky to be working with your wife, Kate, in your business. That's awesome. I'm sure there's challenges, but I'm sure it's also amazing. But in your relationship, go-to emotion?
Togetherness.
Awesome. And in a bad place, limiting?
Alone.
Okay. And just family in general. When you're in a good place, what's your go-to emotion?
Connection.
Okay. And limiting?
Ignoring.
Okay. That's awesome, man. Thanks for being so forthcoming. It's always tough. I start talking about emotions and some people go, oh, I don't want to tell anybody about that. Right. But
not me.
But I love it. And that's great. If you have time for one more question, I think we're right.
I do. Let's break it.
Worry and fear are two of our more challenging emotions, especially as entrepreneurs and especially for aspiring entrepreneurs. How have you learned to manage and control worry and manage and control fear?
So one way that I've really looked to manage and control worry is I try to keep a good perspective in life. I mean, for me, I spent 8 years as an officer in the U.S. Army, did a 13-month tour of duty in Iraq, during war, a tank commander in charge of 4 tanks, 16 men, lost 4 of my soldiers, during battle. So like I've been to like the lowest of the low and to like the terrible, terrible times that can exist in this world. And so whenever I kind of really am exposed to something today where I'm living in Puerto Rico, I'm, at my dream house, I'm running my dream business, and something bad happens, which of course it does, a sponsor wants to cancel, something happens with X or something happens with Y. I mean, it's just businesses are always evolving and, things coming at you a million miles an hour. I just put things in perspective and I'm like, you know what? That's not perfect or the most ideal thing in the world. But if I keep perspective as to like what the actual reality that I'm living in, this isn't too bad after all.
That's awesome. You know what? I'm so thankful you came and were on the show today. I actually got the nerve up to ask you because of you. Actually, you were on a podcast with Pete Vargas on the Green Room, and you were talking about podcasts. And literally, I sat there and wrote out your entire script for asking people to be on a podcast. So
very cool. Hey man, I am proud of what you did. I mean, fortune favors the bold every day of the week. So keep doing your thing, keep spreading your ripple effect of this world. And it was an honor to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you are working on specifically that you want to promote or push? Obviously, we've talked about
yeah, I mean, honestly, the only thing I would say is, hey, check out eofire.com. It's our website where we have, amazing free courses for entrepreneurs, whether you want to start a podcast, come up with your big idea, create your first funnel. They're all free, all at eofire.com. And of course, check out the podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire.
Awesome. And they're awesome. You should go get those free resources.
Thank you, brother.
I've seen them all. I've went through all of them. They are amazing. Guys, you don't want to miss this opportunity. Go and listen to the podcast. John, you're amazing. And I thank you so much. You rock. Thank you for being
here. MJ, take care, brother. Good to see you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey, lifers, don't forget to get your free copy of the Every Minute book. You can find it at everyminutebook.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.